Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something that could really impact the way we all handle healthcare costs. President Trump's recent executive order aimed at lowering prescription drug prices. Now, we all know that healthcare costs can be a real burden, especially for seniors who rely on Medicare. But what does this new move actually mean for us? And how could it change the way we pay for the medications we need? Stick around, because I'll break down everything you need to know and how this might affect your pocketbook. So, let's start with the big picture. President Trump signed an executive order that directs the Department of Health and Human Services to take action on lowering drug prices for millions of Americans. The focus here is primarily on Medicare, something that's super important for the millions of seniors who rely on it for their healthcare needs. In short, the goal of this order is to make prescription drugs more affordable, especially for those who need them the most. One of the first things Trump is doing is expanding the Medicare Drug Pricing Negotiation Program. Now, this program is already in place, but it's set to deliver even greater savings, potentially beating the 22% reduction we saw last year. The new order is pushing for more significant reductions in drug prices, which could really help stretch the dollar for folks on Medicare. But what does this mean for you? Well, if you're someone who depends on Medicare, you might start to see lower out-of-pocket costs when it comes to buying prescriptions. This could be a big relief, especially for those dealing with chronic conditions that require expensive medication. Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel confident recommending for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. Most people save around $1,100 a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is there to support you even after you're signed up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below. Let's keep going. Another thing Trump is targeting is the cost differences in how Medicare pays for drugs. Right now, there's a situation where Medicare pays more for certain medications than hospitals do for the same drugs. The new order aims to align these payments, potentially lowering costs by up to 35%. And for those of you who might be concerned about where you get your medications from, there's a push to standardize payments, so it doesn't matter if you're picking up your prescription at a hospital, pharmacy, or any other care location. Everyone should pay the same rate for the same drug. But it doesn't stop there. Trump is also looking at bringing more transparency and competition to the drug market. You see, when you go to pick up a prescription, it's not always clear what you're paying for or why prices are so high. One part of this new order focuses on giving consumers more insight into how drug pricing works. It's about making sure you're not being overcharged and that the middlemen in the pharmaceutical industry aren't taking too much of the pie. That could mean lower costs for everyone in the long run. There's also something important to know here about insulin, a life-saving drug for many people with diabetes. Under this order, insulin prices for low-income patients could be slashed to as low as 3 cents, which is a huge deal. If you've ever had to pay for insulin, you know that costs can get out of hand, and this price reduction could make a world of difference for people who need it the most. In addition, the order encourages states to start importing drugs from countries like Canada, where the same medications are often sold for much lower prices. However, it's important to mention that only one state, Florida, has been able to implement this so far, with several other states applying for approval. That said, the ongoing tariff policies introduced under President Trump may complicate this initiative. Recently, tariffs on imported goods, including pharmaceuticals, have been put in place, which could raise the cost of medications coming from Canada. These additional costs might limit the savings that were initially expected from the importation programs. So, while more states may be able to import drugs in the future, the impact of these tariffs could potentially hinder the full benefits of this measure, making it harder to achieve the hoped-for reductions in prescription costs. But it's not all smooth sailing. There's a bit of pushback from the pharmaceutical industry. Drug makers have raised concerns about the new rules that allow Medicare to directly negotiate drug prices. They argue that this could lead to lower prices, which would reduce their revenue and potentially limit their ability to fund research and development for new medications. Furthermore, the industry has lobbied for a delay in the price negotiation timeline, particularly for small molecule drugs like pills, arguing that the current timeline of starting negotiations at 9 years could stifle innovation. And with the tariffs on imported drugs, the cost of medications from countries like Canada could rise, limiting the savings that the importation program was meant to provide. So, while the executive order moves in the direction of making drugs more affordable, the pharmaceutical industry's pushback and the complexity of tariffs may slow down some of these changes. So, what does all of this mean for the future? Well, if these changes go through, we could be looking at lower drug prices, more competition in the pharmaceutical industry, and a clearer understanding of where your money is going. And for those of you who rely on Medicare, these changes could bring some much-needed relief, especially when it comes to how much you're paying for essential medications. But it's not all smooth sailing. There's a bit of pushback from the pharmaceutical industry, and we'll have to wait and see how all of this plays out. The bottom line is that, for now, things are moving in the right direction when it comes to making drugs more affordable. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this executive order? Do you think it'll make a difference in the cost of prescription drugs for you or your loved ones? Drop a comment below. I'd love to know your take on this. And also, if you found this information helpful, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future updates like this. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you found this breakdown helpful. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to managing your healthcare costs. So stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.